What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Alabama has done it yet again, landing their 20th commitment in this 2026 recruiting class as four-star quarterback Tayden Kaawa has now become Alabama's second quarterback commit in this class. We're going to break it all down here on today's video, but if you guys are excited that Alabama has landed yet another commitment in this recruiting class, make sure you like today's video for me right now. We are trying to beat this month's like record, 388 on a single video. We'll see what we can do. I would love to get at least 400 likes on this video, so if you guys are hyped up for yet another commitment in Alabama's 2026 class, make sure you drop a like on today's video. All right, so let's kind of break it down now. Tayden Kaawa, the most recent commitment now in Alabama's 2026 recruiting class, and also now your second quarterback in this class as well. We kind of wondered going into this recruiting cycle, how many quarterbacks was Alabama going to take? You only have 3 quarterbacks on the current roster right now, so it made a whole lot of sense for Alabama to go after 2 guys in this class. You went after a couple of different guys. You went after Matt Ponatoski as well. He ended up committing to Kentucky, I believe is what it was. But Alabama gets Jett Thomalla on with the understanding that they were also still going to take a second quarterback. Jett Thomalla, by the way, also, I believe he was like number 16 or something like that in those quarterback rankings. It's actually gone up a little bit in these recruiting rankings. Also in the overall rankings, he was like somewhere in the 2s. He's up over inside the top 200 now. But Tayden Kaawa, 4-star, 351 overall. Just look at that build, man. 6'5", 235 pounds. Reminds me a lot of that same build that you see from a guy like Austin Mack as well. And when you look at Alabama's current quarterback room, kind of projecting what they're also going to have here in the near future, you got to like what you see right now. You have former 5-star in Ty Simpson, former 5-star in Keelan Russell. And then coming off of Keelan Russell, he was the number 2 overall player in last year's recruiting class, the highest rated player or ranked player ever for Alabama in a recruiting class, getting both Jett Thomalla and Tayden Kaawa in the following year after that. That's a really, really big deal considering guys want to play early now. Guys want to come out here and they want to get these big NIL deals. That's not necessarily something that Jett Thomalla and, Tayden Kaawa were, extremely focused on, getting this massive bag, getting the number 12 quarterback and the number 26 quarterback on the heels of getting the number 2 overall player. Man, this Alabama coaching staff, Nick Sheridan, Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, all of them deserve a lot of credit with this quarterback class that they're getting here in this 2026 cycle. So just kind of looking to the future here, what is your confidence level in Alabama's quarterback room? That includes Ty Simpson, all the current guys right now, even though, Ty Simpson, hopefully the goal for him is to have a really good season this year and then go off to next year's NFL draft. But let me know what you guys think. What is your confidence level in Alabama's quarterback room? It's the pinned comment of today's video, so get down there, especially if that ad comes here on YouTube. Scale it for me, 1 on the low end and 10 on the high end. All right, we've also got a little bit of an update here on Anthony Tank Jones. It's not really, the biggest update, to be completely honest with you. It kind of seems like, he's a very, very quiet recruit prospect. It really does seem like in this recruiting class. So, 247 on 3 rivals, all these guys are really trying to get some articles out on Tank Jones, and it does seem like he is getting closer to making his commitment decision. This is what Tom Loy of 247 Sports wrote yesterday on Anthony Jones. He said edge rusher Anthony Tank Jones is set to announce his commitment in the near future. A final decision hasn't been locked in quite yet, but the finalists are set, and a commitment will come within the next few weeks. In the end, I think Alabama is going to be tough to beat. There was a time where he was looking to leave home, but I am not sure that that is the case anymore. He's close with his family, and there is pride about putting on for his home state. I think the Crimson Tide get it done as of today. That's a big phrase right there, as of today, because we all know how things can change here in recruiting very, very fast. Teams like, Texas A&M and Oregon are the other 2 top teams right now for Anthony Jones. And it seems like from everything that I've read anyways, seems like Oregon, he likes the coaching staff, but it might be a little bit too far all the way across the country for him. So he might want to stay somewhere like Alabama or Texas A&M here. And if Alabama can get the number 2 player in the state, they would then have the top 4 players in the state of Alabama committed in their 2026 recruiting class. And also, he's a guy that is probably going to play Bandit or Wolf. I think it's really just going to depend on the need here in the future for Alabama, whether, it depends what guys go off to the NFL or hit the transfer portal or injuries or anything like that. I think he's a guy that can definitely play both. We've heard in the past, he has said that he likes the idea of dropping back in coverage a lot, which really signifies that Wolf position. But sitting right now at 6'4", 260 pounds, he could also play that Bandit position. Whether they keep him there, maybe they put on, 10, 15, 20 pounds on him. I think either one of those positions are going to be a really solid spot if Alabama can land Anthony Tank Jones, the 5-star edge rusher in this 2026 recruiting class. And if they can do that, man, you got to be really happy with this defensive line room. Even if you don't get Anthony Tank Jones, you still, are feeling probably, pretty decent about this defensive line room. I love Jamarian Matthews. I love Kamarian Johnson. I think both of those guys, especially Kamarian Johnson, I think he's super underrated. You talk about the evaluations on a guy like J.J. Finch. I think that, his ceiling can be very, very high as well. And then you also got top 100 player, almost inside the top 50 here in Nolan Wilson as well, the number 6 defensive lineman in this class. Man, it really is shaping up to be a really, really solid defensive line class, especially, there was a lot of talk about Freddie Roach and is he really able, to recruit at an extremely high level, because some of these, 5-star defensive linemen aren't necessarily going to Alabama. They're really going off of, the evaluation and how these guys are going to fit into their system. It's not necessarily about getting the biggest dude or the, highest ranked dude. It's about getting these guys that really do fit into their system. So I really do like what Alabama is doing right now with this defensive line class. We'll continue on with one more defensive lineman here in just a second. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get this Alabama Scenic Polo today just by going to chatsports.com/Bama Polo. It's got a whole lot of different, scenes from campus on there. You got Denny Chimes on there. You got Bryant-Denny Stadium. You've got a whole lot of things on there that you can see around campus as well. And it is a massive, massive sale right now. So if you guys need a game day shirt, this is a solid polo for game day. It was $100. It is 50% off right now. Only $50 just by going to chatsports.com/Bama Polo. Get that today. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. All right, I told you guys we're going to talk about another defensive lineman here. 4-star defensive lineman Elijah Golden has now pushed his commitment date back a couple of weeks. Was originally supposed to commit here in a couple of days on July 26th. Will end up moving that back now to August 9th. And, Alabama was kind of in the picture. We took an official visit to Alabama, but really it seemed like Notre Dame was getting a lot of hype for Elijah Golden. So wanted to go to, On Three's Blue and Gold, see what they were talking about him. Mike Singer, my guy Mike Singer, used to do some producing for him as well. Gave an update on him and just kind of where things sit from the Notre Dame aspect for Elijah Golden here. He said, with the development, I checked with various sources to learn that this recruitment is definitely not over. Prior to today, I thought Notre Dame held a strong lead for him while also continuing to hear that other schools were in contact. It seemed like Alabama and Notre Dame were in Notre Dame battle with Oklahoma and Virginia Tech on the outside looking in, but the Sooners have surged this week and have definitely become a threat to the Irish. So from that, it really does kind of sound like now Oklahoma and Notre Dame are probably the top 2 teams for Elijah Golden. If I were to guess, this would just be another guy that would be a solid addition to Alabama's 2026 recruiting class, but I don't necessarily think that's going to end up happening here. Last year in his junior season, 61 tackles, 29 TFLs, 10 sacks, and also credited with 8 quarterback hurries as well. Like I said, I don't think Alabama lands him, but with the guys that we just talked about, the 4 guys that you currently have committed, maybe you get Tank Jones. That's probably going to be it for Alabama's defensive line class. But say you don't land Anthony Tank Jones. There's going to be more recruiting battles that are going to continue throughout the college football season leading up to signing day. So, with any of these guys, just because they end up committing somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that's where they're going to end up signing. Elijah Golden, no matter if he commits to Oklahoma or Notre Dame or Alabama, there's still probably going to be a lot of moving parts, and this is, definitely one that could, you could see going up to signing day. So what is the percent chance that you think Alabama lands Elijah Golden? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section of today's show. What is the percent chance that you guys think Alabama can land Elijah Golden? All right, Hillcrest Tuscaloosa high school football coach, Jamie Mitchell, actually did a recent interview here with Bama Online, and he talked about 2026 linebacker commit Zah Hall, and actually told them that he thinks that Zah Hall could be a steal for Alabama in this 2026 recruiting class. This is what his coach said about him and why he might be a little bit underrated right now. He said, I think he's a real unknown for so many people. He moved here before his junior year, but we didn't get him until late July. We only had him for maybe a couple of weeks before fall camp, and then he got hurt early on. So he's a real unknown for a lot of people, but he's not an unknown to us. He's a big-time talent. He's 6'2", 245-pound linebacker with a 4.5 guy in the 40-yard dash. You look high and you low. There's not many kinds of guys like that around, and I think Alabama is getting a real steal in him just on the fact that so many people don't know who he is, but we know who he is. Now, that's some pretty high praise for a guy that is ranked outside the top 1,200 right now, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. But, man, you talk about the speed as well. 4.5 guy sitting right now at 145 pounds. That's really, really solid. And I think that just goes to show what Alabama's doing right now in terms of some of these, lower ranked guys. You got J.J. Finch in the defensive line, some other 3 stars for Alabama right now. Javari Burnett was another running back who, ended up getting hurt just after, 3 games last year in his junior season. But the coaching staff really loves the evaluation right there. Brian Williams Jr., 6'4", 185-pound wide receiver. This kid runs some really, really crisp routes, and his body size is, I think he's got a lot more room to fill out as well there. Owen Cable, I believe he ran like a 4.40 or something like that. Extremely underrated there. Rael Kelly, Zah Hall, these are guys that, Kane Womack and this Alabama defensive coaching staff just really like their tape, and they really like the in-person evaluation there. So, just looking at how Courtney Morgan, Kane Womack, Robert Gillespie at the running back position, Jamarcus Shepard, your wide receiver coach there, just how those guys go about their business to land not only these big-time recruits, but some of these undervalued guys. You can't help but just be really excited, especially if you hit on at least a couple of these guys. You don't got to hit on every single one of them. Some guys are going to transfer. Some guys just aren't going to pan out. But trusting the process and the evaluation is something that Alabama fans just really have to do for the first couple of recruiting classes here, especially with NIL. You're trying to balance budgets now with the revenue sharing and everything like that. So until these guys really get their opportunity to play, we won't really know, what they are. So just trust the process, stay there, trust the coaching staff. We'll see what happens here in a couple of years. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report as well. We just passed 26,000 subscribers here on the channel, and our next goal is 27,000 subscribers. Football's just over a month away. We'll have our watch parties. We'll continue to put out news and rumors for you guys. When Alabama gets more recruiting news, we'll have that. It's all free right here on the channel. So do not miss out. Make sure you are subscribed.